It's Baseball at the Corner. This is the Michigan in Trouble podcast with your hosts, Alex S. Freeman and Luke Jaconis.
Get out your broom, Luke. It was a sweep.
That's how I sweep. It looks like I'm doing some sort of Irish jig, but that's how I sweep.
You are not a particularly efficient sweeper, but that's okay because the Tigers got the sweep in the series against the Pirates this weekend. So that's a good way. That's a good week of baseball. We lost the Cardinal series, which was disappointing, but we ended up with a sweep of the Pirates, who we've talked about many times as being our kryptonite. So
yeah. Also, did you see this? Did you see the stat at the end of the game? This was the first Tiger sweep against, I think, a National League opponent since 2013.
Wow.
I believe it was, an on the road against a National League opponent at their stadium sweep. It was almost 7 years to the dot. I think they said. I think it was like September of 2013 was the last time they did this. So yeah, it was great to see. I mean, for many reasons, and we're going to get into it all here on the show. But think of it this way: we hadn't won a baseball game coming into Friday night's game against the Pirates. That whatever that game was, I'm still trying to kind of process it. We won though, so that's all that matters. But prior to that game, we hadn't won a game in a week because we lost the last two to the Reds, and then we didn't play because of the Cardinals. So yeah, it's kind of a good way to come back from a little 4 or 5 day hiatus of a series sweep. I don't care. Hey, sweeps are sweeps. I'll never kind of doubt. I don't care if it's a team that's kind of struggling like the Pirates or if it's a team that's, red hot like the Cubs or whoever else it might be. So the Yankees, whatever. But yeah, sweeps are sweeps. And it was a different. All three games were pretty different. I know Friday and Saturday had a little bit of similarity just in terms of the runs and everything. But it was different games, but good wins nonetheless. So I was happy to see it.
Yeah, kind of before we get into the specifics of the Pittsburgh series, I kind of want to talk about, you kind of made the comment of that this Pittsburgh team seems to be struggling this season, and that's certainly true.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I've been noticing this year in Tigers Twitter land is the lack of ability to give the team credit. And I'm not saying that that's what you were doing necessarily in that moment, but I saw a lot of tweets talking about how bad this Pirates team is, and to a certain extent, maybe that's true, but the parity in baseball is such that even the quote unquote bad teams can win on any given day, and you should expect them to win in their home stadium. And so finding these three very different wins seems good. And so I'm curious, is at what point do you think that the majority of Tigers Nation will actually start believing in this team and kind of seeing it? What is it going to take? They're 8-5 right now. They're sitting in a playoff position. They are sort of doing everything right in regards to that. There's certainly trouble. There's certainly things that we would want to see improved, but I think that would be true of a team that was maybe even more 10 and the 10-5 Twins. Obviously they're gonna see things that they want to improve on. So what is it going to take for this?
That's a great
fan base to believing again.
It really is at times kind of like a really unhealthy relationship, and I could see why fans sometimes have their doubts. I mean, I never want to say I actively don't think they can pull it off, but there's a lot of even it's like I said, a bad relationship. Even Joe Jimenez comes into the ninth inning. I know he's a closer. I know he can do his job. We've seen him do his job. He's got a 1-run lead, and even in the little kind of pits in my stomach, I'm like, oh crap! Here we go. And that first ball that batter hit in the bottom of the ninth inning was a rocket, and Travis Demeritte ran it down in right field, and Joe comes back, and gets those 2 strikeouts, which was awesome. So I kind of get where Tigers Twitter is coming from a little bit, but here's the thing. Wins are wins at the end of the day. And going into this season, we kind of kept saying that there are certain teams on paper that we should be beating. And the Pirates were one of those teams. The Royals were one of those teams. But, hey, we can't even knock the Royals so much. We split a series with them. I mean, that lineup is kind of sneaky hot, the Kansas City Royals, and we're going to see them more throughout the season. So they're still going to kind of, be there for us to have to take care of. But these games against the Pirates were games that were winnable games, and we took care of our business and we did what we had to do. But we've said it a bunch of times too, going into this season, and maybe even still with the season continuing, when other teams play us like Cleveland or Chicago or the Twins or whoever it might be in the National League, Brewers, Cubs, they're probably thinking the same thing about when they play us. Like, these are the Tigers, we should be beating them. And so I don't really have a certain, I don't think when they, if the Tigers get to 20 wins, all of a sudden, the fan base and Twitter starts being more kind of optimistic, kind, and respectful, because that's just not what Twitter is. Twitter is a cesspool of negativity. And even, and I'll admit it too, we joke around a lot, at least I do on our Twitter account. Like, I think I make jokes. I tweeted out the other night, the fun one about the Tigers drinking game, take a shot every time a Tigers player strikes out, then you die of alcohol poisoning. And I think it's fun. It's okay to poke fun and make jokes, but then you got to give them love too and props when they're doing well. I think there has to be a bit of a give and take, and I'd like to see that more from Tigers Twitter in general. Boy, heard a lot of crap talk about Jeimer Candelario last week, but I haven't heard so much of that lately. You got to give guys time. I mean, hey, I get it. It's easy to pile on guys. I've done it before. I try not to. I think, we all have to kind of, it's just not really healthy or right. But, we got to give everybody time. And when it comes to Tigers Twitter, allowing that time to come, I don't know when it will happen. I hope it happens. But I guess then a little bit in defense of Tigers Twitter, it is only 13 games in. There's still many more to go. And if you really look at our schedule up to this point, we beat the Reds, that was a first week series. That was everyone's kind of getting their feet wet. Split a series with the Royals. Then we lose a series to the Reds. Doubleheader crap, but it is what it is. And then we sweep the Pirates. So the Reds, we know they're a good team, and I do think the Royals have a bit of a sneaky lineup. I'll be honest, this Pirates team, they're not good. I was watching the game today, and I was like, geez, this team really has kind of, gotten rid of some, the days of, Marte and McCutchen are long past. But, so they're going through their own struggles, and we know how that feels. We do. So what I guess I'm getting at here is I'm excited to see how we start stacking up against more familiar faces. We get the White Sox coming up. We're going to be getting the Twins and the Indians. We still got a couple more interleague matchups with the Cubs. We're going to be making up those Cardinal games. We still have the Brew Crew that we've yet to face. So we have some tests in front of us. Let's see how we do. And then after we get through those, then I think we can make a more accurate representation of kind of where this team is at. I do want to say for the record, though, I hope that didn't come off too negative, because I really am happy with how this team is performing right now. I think you'd be a fool to not, at least, even if you don't think this is going to last, I don't see how you can't be watching, I'd say, about 80 to 85% of these games and not having a blast doing it. Especially, remember what we had to deal with last season in 2019. And again, it's only 13 games. Who knows what could happen? We really are going to start seeing more of those kind of more contender-ish teams down the pipe here pretty soon. But in the meantime, this has been a fun season. This team can hit. They can hit the long ball. I know we're going to get into that in just a second. Pitching continues to surprise me. Buck Farmer goes out there, has a couple issues, but gets out of it. Joe comes back strong from blowing that save the other night. And Spencer Turnbull, I'm saying it now. I think I tagged us in that Facebook or Instagram post. I think it was on Wednesday or Thursday of this past week. It's time. This dude needs to start getting some props. And I'll be curious to see now. I kind of made a mention of it on the Friday show. We're 8-5. We just swept the Pirates. We've hit some long balls. There's a lot of stories around this team right now. Do we start getting more coverage, or are we still just the Tigers of 2019 that nobody wants to give any respect to? And if that's the case, I don't know if you can knock people for not wanting to give us kind of our due, because we still got a long way to go. We got a lot to prove still. We can't just get our chest puffed out over a 3-game sweep against the Pirates. It's great, but there's still a ton more to be had, down the road. So, I'll be curious though to see. What happens. But Spencer Turnbull, dude, he's on a different level right now. I know today he had some struggles. Was it kind of a more interesting start from compared to his other two? But yeah, go ahead and talk, Alex. I've been rambling for like 6 minutes. So you go ahead.
No, yeah, I think let's transition into this kind of conversation about the Pittsburgh series in particular. One of the things that I liked about today's win and what I saw against this Pittsburgh team that we haven't been seeing from the Tigers in recent years is that as the Pirates made mistakes, we were able to capitalize on them, which has definitely not been the case, particularly in the way in which today's win came about. The wild pitch that moves the runner over, and then we get a Miggy single that brings Schoop in. And so suddenly that turns into the game winner. And I think that that's something that we haven't seen the team able to execute on necessarily in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And so to be able to kind of see them make those wins, get those wins when they present themselves, that's good. Obviously, this is like in the realm of baseball as well. Like today's the day they were supposed to lose because they had won the series. It's supposed to be the regression to the mean that lets the Pirates kind of take one at home. And we saw the regression to the mean, but we still saw the Tigers battle out a win that they really stole a win today, which was great.
Well, I just mentioned it before, like in terms of, I don't know how people can't be excited, at least watching this team right now, what we've seen thus far. This team is scrappy. This is a really scrappy team, and it's great to see. I mean, that Friday night win, which was a win, a very sloppy win, albeit, but a win nonetheless. They, I think they rallied back 3 different times to come out there. Then yesterday, they go out there, they have the huge first inning, home run derby pretty much. And then even though they go up, I think they're up 6-0 at one point, Pirates came back 6-5. And then on top of that, they came back with the bats, backed up and pushed that final to 11-5. And then today, Pirates are leading 1-0. Tied it up 1-1. Austin Romine, by the way, we got to give that guy some love. I know you kind of gave him some props on the Friday show. We talked about players we'd maybe kind of like to see sneak into next season as well in 2021. Right now, Romine's got, I think, arguably at the top of the list. I mean, he just continues to really just kind of put together these nice, sneaky little games, doing a great job with the pitchers on that side of the ball. So great stuff for him. And then, of course, Miggy, as always, the Hall of Famer comes through and clutch and gets the go-ahead single. So yeah, that was they snuck away with that one too, man. This team is scrappy. They're all fighting. And I'm seeing, and again, I don't want to even blow up my own head too much, but it's 13 games. I get that. Take it with a grain of salt. There's still a lot more to be played. It's not 162. I get it. But man, there's something about this team that just there's like like you can like even today watching the game, Spencer Turnbull's getting fired up. Not even, he gets, a strikeout or he just throws a strike and he's like screaming into his mitt. He's pounding his chest and everything. Like, it's just good to see. This team has a lot of fight to it. I hope that continues. I think that's kind of been their saving grace thus far. I think a lot of these games, had this been the 2019 Tigers, I don't think they'd be winning a lot of these games because I just, the team just didn't have that spark, didn't have that fire. And I see that now. Now it's funny because it's virtually the same team of 2019, a few different additions, no doubt about it, some free agents and whatnot. But yeah, it's just been fun to see. This team's got a lot of spark, a lot of fight, and I was just happy to see the bats obviously on Saturday yesterday. That we can get into that now if we want, but that was that little home run derby in the first inning was pretty awesome to see. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, let's talk about the bats and Tigers hitting over this Pittsburgh series. So scored 30 runs in 3 games. Obviously 17 runs Friday night, 11 runs Saturday, 2 runs today for a total of 30 and 36 hits over the past 3 games, 16, 16, and 4 today. But I also want to bring up the sort of discipline plate appearances that we saw, and 6 walks on Friday, 4 walks on Saturday. Obviously, the walks on Friday night contributing to some of those runs. Yeah, 2 walks today, 12 walks total. Coming into the series, the Tigers had walked 25 times on the year, so it was a nice thing to see. And they're currently nice to see them do that because they're currently ranked 25th in Major League Baseball in walks. So obviously they are not necessarily drawing the types of walks. They're not being disciplined in those plate appearances. That's something that we'd like to see, because also then we have to talk about the strikeouts. We have to continue talking about strikeouts. 16, 12, and 12 for a total of 40 strikeouts over the last 3 games, which puts them 9th in Major League Baseball, which I was surprised by how low they were first, based on just, watching them every day. And then here's the other top strikeout teams in Major League Baseball. So then we can talk about if this strikeout thing is really a problem or not, based on these teams that they're in the company of: the Braves, the Athletics, the Rays, Mariners, Indians, Mets, and the White Sox, all on that list. So to me, that is a signal that maybe I personally need to worry a little bit less about the strikeouts if they are continuing to, when they aren't striking out, they're making contact and getting on base. And or sending it over the fence, as they have been doing quite a bit of this season as well. Although when I looked at that list, I don't remember quite where they were, but they were a little bit lower than I expected them to be in home runs, again, just from watching them day to day. And so, they are definitely in that area. So that's kind of my like numbers impressions of the bats. And I definitely, it felt like a better plate appearance weekend, even outside of them putting up obnoxiously high numbers up in the runs column.
Yeah, it's funny, when you kind of use that, I guess that kind of that analogy or whatever. If they're not hitting the ball, if they're not striking out, they're hitting the ball out of the ballpark. So it's almost like the Tigers are a bunch of Mark Reynolds or Chris Davises who, man, they can either hit the ball to the moon or they're going to be 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. So. Yeah, I mean, it is, I think you said the number was 40 strikeouts for 3 games, not very pretty. I guess in terms of the company we are with, it's pretty good company to be around. A lot of those teams can hit, but I would like to see those numbers go down in some way, obviously. But hey, I guess, I know we kind of like to make fun of them for it and we kind of bring it up a lot, but at the end of the day, although they're striking out 40 times, in this 3-game series, they just got a series sweep, and they're 8-5. And I'd have to imagine, I wanted to look up the numbers, especially after yesterday's game, because I know at a point in time they were first in the majors with home runs. Mm-hmm. So I would imagine they're top 5, if not top 10, around there. But they're doing something right. But at a certain point in time, too, kind of how we were joking beforehand, you're not going to always have 4 home runs in the first inning. That was a nice little treat for us. But I would temper Tiger fans to don't think that's going to become a norm every day. But if it does, terrific. I mean, we're going to have free curly fries for the rest of our life from Arby's, and that's all that really matters in the game that we call life. But so I mean, I'd like to see the strikeout numbers go down. Obviously, it's going to be kind of one of those things you just got to keep going on the fly. There's not really any time to have a day off and kind of work on that or whatever it might be. You're just going to have to kind of learn, adapt, go on the fly. And we'll see how it happens. Hey, if they got to keep striking out 12 to 14 times a game, but we're getting 2 to 3 home runs a game, and they're still driving in runs, and I guess you got to sometimes take the good with the bad with the good, whatever. But it'll be interesting to see. We got to get those numbers down, but again, only time will tell at that. It's just going to have to kind of come when it does, because this season is just moving. We really don't have a lot of time to slow down. So.
Yeah, I think for me, the number I'm going to keep a little bit closer eye on is the team OPS, on base plus slugging, and they're 9th in MLB in OPS right now.
That's not bad.
And obviously, you get a lot of credit to your OPS when you get credited with 4 bags because you hit a home run. But so that to me, that's really the more of the key metric to kind of keep an eye on with this team, is that if that number starts to slip down, then we could start to be in some real trouble. And I also want to, one of the encouraging things to me for the bats is that on Friday night, as ugly as that game kind of was at times, and as scrappy and kind of exciting, but also stomach churning to watch, they scored 17 runs and only one of them was a home run.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely encouraging that these bats can generate runs, and these hitters can generate runs through drawing walks, through singles, we saw a lot more of that this weekend than we have been seeing, which is good. And then obviously Saturday was a fireworks show, but otherwise, and then today, they had to tough it out again. They had to grind out this win.
Honestly, and I mentioned to you before we started going, this might be my favorite win of the weekend, of the series, just because they didn't really have a chance to rely on the big bats coming through. They didn't have the big home run. You had a real go out there and gritty performance from Spencer Turnbull, and then the bullpen came and did their work. But then the bats, when they stepped up when they stepped up, and they made the most of their opportunities. I think with the go-ahead run that Scope scored, he got hit by the pitch, if I'm not mistaken. Then there was that wild pitch that I think almost made Dr. Fauci look like Nolan Ryan. That thing went.
I think
so far right, I couldn't believe it.
Pick up Fauci.
Dr. Fauci. I'm I'm actually going to pick him up on my fantasy baseball team. He's going to be my starter. I don't play fantasy baseball, but teach their own. But from there, so Schoop's on second, and then Miggy gets the hit and it drives him in, and good base running by Schoop there to have kind of that awareness of running on contact and just going. I think he was even running before the pitch was thrown. One could tell that Miggy was taking a swing, and it was fun to hear Gibby talk about that. Which, by the way, I want to make a note. I want to talk about Shep and Gibby calling games this weekend because I enjoy listening to them, and I think I'm the only person in the world, it feels like, who does. But we can get to that in a second. But so they were making the most of the opportunities that were given to them. I remember now I'm really like digging back into my glory days. But when I was in high school and I played baseball, I remember my freshman year coach, he would always say, if they're giving it to you, take it. If they're giving it to you, take it. And there was a few times throughout this series, well, it's more than a few, but many times throughout the series where the Pirates gave us opportunities and we took them and ran with it. Kind of how you said earlier, capitalizing on those moments that we maybe hadn't seen in series past against teams like legitimately the Pirates. So it was just good to see. We had the really gross kind of yucky car crash game Friday night, but we got out of there with the win. Great, whatever. Saturday was the little home run derby, which was a lot of fun to watch. And then today was like just a good, solid game on both sides of baseball, which was a lot of fun. But we got out of there with the sweep, and we'll take it. Also, one other thing to note, too, kind of how you said the OPS for the Tigers has been pretty strong. I think you said it was ninth in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, we're ninth in MLB right
now.
Yeah,
I mean that's great. That's a great little spot to be in. I want to give some credit too, and I think I got to give some love here to Al Avila. And I'm just being genuine here. I think we've seen this team really kind of start to evolve into a more modernized team. And when I say that, I'm talking specifically with a lot of their defense. We're seeing them play the shift a lot. And we saw this weekend.
Number 150 team.
That was the stat I heard throughout the game today. And I was like, damn, I can't believe that's true. But, they're getting with the times, so to speak. And again, it's just, I know it's only 13 games, but there's a feeling in the air, in my opinion, at least, that things are changing. It may not be change where we're winning a World Series this year or maybe even next year, but we're going to go out there and we're going to start making people, if you want to beat us, you're going to have to bring your A game. As opposed to last year, it was like, well, whatever happens, happens. No, now the narrative is starting to change with this team, and I can feel it. And by the way, we're doing it with all these guys we have now. Casey Mize isn't here. Matt Manning isn't here. Faedo isn't here. God bless Scooble's not here. Did you read that story about him?
Yes. Yeah.
Good Lord. I mean, that dude is a warrior. I mean, if he kicked COVID's ass. I mean, when he comes to the major league, it's going to be like a cakewalk for him compared to what that guy went through. I'm glad he's doing better. But, we don't have Torque. We don't have Riley Green, Daz Cameron, Paredes, Derek Hill, all those guys. So, yeah, the youngsters aren't even here yet, and we're still doing this. So, which is very encouraging to see. But yeah, so anyways, I think the narrative is definitely starting to change with this team, and I'm all for it. So I think it's great.
Yeah, a couple of news items just to kind of wrap up the Pittsburgh series, and then let's get into the Shep Gibby conversation.
Yeah.
Quick, but I do want to make note that Jacoby Jones did leave Sunday's game in the third with abdominal tightness. He's day to day. Didn't really seem to be. He was just not feeling 100% today. So there was the sit him down to give him the rest as we go into this massive stretch of games.
Yeah.
But then also on Saturday, those of you that watched the game, those of you may have heard, there was a scary collision between Phillip Evans and Gregory Polanco of the Pittsburgh Pirates. And Evans is now on the 45-day IL. He was obviously taken off in a stretcher, put onto the backboard. He's got a broken jaw and a concussion. They do expect that he will make a full recovery, which was great news to read today, because it was definitely a very scary moment in the game on Saturday, and definitely something that you don't watch baseball for the big hits in that way. And so when it does happen, it is always a frightening thing to watch, and especially when they immediately immobilize a guy and then put him on the hard backboard to take him off. That gets pretty scary. But it seems like it's sort of the best scenario one could expect coming out of that kind of collision. So broken jaw, concussion. He's going to be done for the year, but should be back and ready to go for next season, which is good because he was having a nice little season. He was a good little breakout star for the Pirates.
Pirates need it right now. Yeah, they're kind of like we were saying. They're definitely a team. I hate to use the rebuilding term, but they are definitely in the midst of figuring some stuff out on that end. You knew that collision was pretty gnarly because I think Polanco actually was the one to catch the ball, and he goes down right away. And Scope then tagged up and scored from second. So, I mean, I can't honestly think of a time I have seen that. I mean, I'm sure I have. I can't think of it at the moment. But, I mean, that's a very rare occurrence in baseball. So when he scored on that, I was like, oh, damn, like this is someone's definitely banged up down there. So glad to hear, full recoveries are to be made. That's encouraging. And you said it also perfectly. It's never good when they pretty much have the backboard out there right away. So, but scary times, man. Baseball's not really a contact sport, and you said it perfectly. We like to see contact with the bat and the ball, not so much players running into each other because it can get real dicey. But full recoveries are expected to be had, like you said, so it can be good, and then that's awesome.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about Shep and Gibby. I did enjoy having Gibby on the broadcast this weekend.
Yeah.
But I do, there is definitely some work to be done in, I think, Shep's calling of a game, and particularly like in this moment, like I have to give him a little bit of kind of both a little bit of slack because obviously Shep was just starting to like develop a bit of a rhythm with Jack, and so then to have Gibby come in for this weekend, obviously to just promote the Kirk Gibson Foundation, and their golf outing coming up, great cause, but. So there was a new rhythm to be developed, and I feel like it was there. But you like hearing them call the game, so I'm curious to hear more.
I like when it's. Obviously it's two very different dynamics when it's Shep and Jack Morris or Shep and Gibby. But no matter who it is, I love hearing the player's perspective on things. And honestly, I'm kind of a fool sometimes. I am in no regards calling Matt Shepard a fool. The dude's probably way smarter than I am or will ever be. But I sometimes feel like I am in Matt Shepard's shoes because a lot of time he is asking Gibby or Jack Morris, like, what would you do in this scenario? What pitch are you throwing here? What do you think? And then it's just kind of nice. Then Gibby will kind of sometimes turn around and ask Matt Shepard, like, hey, what do you think you would do? I think like it's just a conversation. And it honestly kind of reminds me sometimes of like me having a conversation with my grandpa. Just like, we're not diving super deep into things. We're just kind of like having, very like, not, I don't want to say surface level because that kind of sounds like condescending, but like just, having a casual conversation, not a lot of stress, not a lot of, high tense situations or nervousness. I don't know. I actually find when Gibby talks, it's super relaxing. I don't know. I that's just me. Yeah. And I think I'm definitely in the minority here. I posted some stuff on our Twitter this weekend and a couple fans came after me, and that's rightfully so. Everyone can have their own opinion, but I like it. And I'll be the first to do. I like hearing Matt Shepard call home runs. I do. I think the dude just oozes with enthusiasm, and like he gets you jacked up. I don't know. Maybe I just don't know what like good commentators by definition are supposed to sound like, because I think what they're doing is perfectly fine. And I've enjoyed everyone thus far, from Shepard to Jack Morris to Gibson, the guys in the studio, Simo and all those guys. So I guess maybe I must have fallen and hit my head, because I appear to be the only Tigers fan who likes what we have right now. Of course I miss Rod Morrow, but you can't start a fist fight at work and think you're going to keep your job. I mean, that just doesn't happen. So, they did what they did. There was consequences. They're gone. It's done and over with. So now we got these guys, and I've enjoyed it. I really have. So
I think my biggest complaint, and I think the biggest complaint of the level-headed people that don't like this current broadcast team, is that I think that Shep still has a lot of work to do as a play-by-play guy. I think that he does do a really nice job, and I agree with you that he does a really nice job of setting up either Jack or Gibby for that kind of color, to bring in that player's perspective, to kind of really get into the kind of that little bit of nitty gritty there. But what I would like to hear him be a little bit better at calling games. I do think he gets too many long fly balls versus home runs confused.
I do too a lot of times.
And certainly like but I think that comes with part of the frustration, is that like he theoretically has a better view of it than we do. Although I guess this season that is
not this
true,
weekend though, because they're not the games
from the studio. They're not there.
Yeah.
And so, but in a normal kind of situation, he is supposed to be able to see that a little bit better than me, and then help me to know what is happening in the field in that way.
It really kind of reminds me of when we had Jesse on a few weeks ago, and he had talked about what he's seeing and feeling in that moment. He then vocalizes to us, the audience, and then in turn we're supposed to kind of share that same kind of reaction: positive, negative, exciting, defeated, whatever it might be. I didn't like. I mean, I don't know. I've just enjoyed it thus far. I mean, maybe I'm kind of just a simpleton, and maybe there's more room to grow. And I don't know. I didn't really like the one when I didn't like the one. I think it was the third home run, and he was like, he looks up, and Derek Collins wondering what's going on. Well, I'll tell you what's going on. The Tigers just hit 3 homers. That one, I was like, all right, that one wasn't my favorite, but I don't know. I mean, I think the dude has a lot of passion. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Matt Shepard, if you don't want to come on the show, I think I'm your biggest stan, to quote the Twitter kids. So if you want to come on the show, buddy, by all means, I'd love to yell some home run calls with you.
I also think that one of the issues that they have to overcome is very similar to what we were talking about at the beginning of the show with Tigers Twitter and believing in this team, is that Shep took over the show in the pits of the worst season in recent memory, and so there's just bad memories associated with that. That the product on the field was bad. He was in his first season, and so was certainly not at his best. With room to grow, but then there is also that first impression is really important. If he had taken over the show under different circumstances, and the Tigers were competitive, I think a lot of people would have different feelings about Matt Shepard than they do right now.
Well, also, I want to say this too, and kind of getting off the Shep talk for a second, and Gibby, I've seen this a few times now on Tigers Twitter, and I almost don't want to address it just because it's just crappy, but because let's face how it is. We know Gibby's current situation, and sometimes people are taking shots at his commentating because of what he's going through. And if you're one of those people, you're a garbage human being, and you could probably just leave and no one would care because you're an asshole. So that's just the facts of life, really. I don't, kick a guy when he's down. Hey man, I like Gibby. I like Jack Morris. I know it's not some sort of newfound thing where it's, you have a play-by-play guy and then you got someone on color who probably has played the game or managed or something throughout their career. But I just think it's working. And I see a lot of negative hate for it, the whole broadcasting team right now. And I don't see it. I'm enjoying it. I'm sure there's room to grow. There's room to grow with everything, not just, even on the field, in the booth, whatever it might be. The team is good, but we're not perfect. And, that those growing pains will, come when, we'll get through it. But that's that. I don't know much to say.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little bit more. This is not a Cardinals podcast, although it may feel that way sometimes. The Cardinals' COVID woes do continue. Their game, they were supposed to get the Pirates next. Their game on Monday has been postponed. It seems likely that the whole series with the Pirates is going to be postponed. I guess we'll know a little bit more officially on Monday as we go through another round of testing as we record on Sunday. But yeah, that's definitely something to keep an eye on. And this will kind of transition us into our conversation about the upcoming week, because we're supposed to have a doubleheader with the Cardinals on Thursday. That doesn't seem necessarily out of the realm of possibility that it may not happen if these tests continue to come back positive. But it does seem the most likely scenario to me at this moment on Sunday afternoon seems that they will lose the series with the Pirates, and the first game back will be against Detroit in a doubleheader on Thursday. So that will be their first game in over 2 weeks that they face us. So before we kind of use that as the pivot point, the question I wanted to ask you, Luke, is that does this scenario with the Cardinals and the scenario with the Marlins mean that Major League Baseball should consider a bubble for the playoffs? And here's why I pose the question, because we've had one team lose an entire week, and we've had now another team lose a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks of the season. And it doesn't seem like Major League Baseball should open themselves up to the possibility of having to delay a playoff series by a week or a week and a half because there's an outbreak on one of the playoff teams. But obviously, I have heard no conversation of a potential bubble for the playoffs. I just think that Major League Baseball might be shooting themselves in the foot to finish the World Series on time if they don't consider it.
Yeah, that's I have not heard anything of that nature either. But I mean, it's a very fair question to kind of ask right now. That's kind of the talk. At least people I've been reading articles and friends just I know who love the game. We all keep kind of saying, in hindsight, maybe we should have gone the bubble route. Maybe we should have gone the Arizona deal, and this all could have been avoided. Who knows? We can't look back now. Just got to go forward. Here's the hard part. The Marlins, there were the rumors that they were going out to strip clubs or bars, whatever it might be. Then there was the rumors with the Cardinals that it was a casino. Now I'm hearing that was never even true, and it was like a friend of a friend and someone's entourage had it, and like that's how they kind of came to the team. Who knows? It's all a bunch of he said, she said. Outside of those two teams, though, Major League Baseball, their numbers are low. Like their positive case rates are incredibly, small compared to probably what a lot of us thought they would be, knock on wood. And again, we're only a couple weeks in, but then you think, well, is this how it's going to be for the rest of the year? Is it going to be like all 29 teams are going to be good, but there's that one team who's kind of, just like out of it for 2 weeks, like the Cardinals and the Marlins were? I mean, so I don't know. It's a fair question. The safest bet might be, just when it comes to playoff times, just so that doesn't happen and we completely avoid that situation, to go the bubble route. That way there's just no ifs, ands, buts about it, because right now the bubble's working for the NBA. As far as everything I've been reading and watching the games on TV, it seems to be good. And the NHL, are they doing a bubble as well?
Yeah, NHL is bubbled, and also
that's what I thought.
Perfectly fine scenario have
had
cases in their bubble. So
if we can get through this regular season and hope no more of these Cardinals or Marlins outbreaks happen, then we start thinking about the bubble. Although I'll be honest, I think the incidents with the Cardinals and the Marlins, I really think that they have scared the kind of fear of God into a lot of these players. And even if they had kind of inklings or desires to, go out after a game or, kind of break the rules, I think that's going to slowly kind of go away. But also, I don't know why we still haven't heard an official rule from Major League Baseball that if you go out and if you contract the virus doing an unnecessary extracurricular activities, i.e. casinos, strip clubs, bars, whatever it might be, you are done for the year and you are stripped of your pay. I don't understand why that just hasn't, we've had almost two teams now potentially derail the season. I mean, the Cardinals have only played 5 games. I mean, it's pretty, my dad's a diehard Cardinal fan. We were talking about it on the phone this morning, and he was just like, I don't know how the hell they're going to make up these games. I mean, when I said a lot of double headers, you're going to be getting a lot of double headers coming your way in the future. So yeah, maybe the bubble route might be the route to take once we get through the regular season. But then again, if the players just start acting more responsible, and if we can keep the overall numbers low like they've been, maybe you don't need to do the bubble. But, again, it's kind of the thing of like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because that if you do the bubble and God forbid an outbreak happens in the bubble, you're like, well, we just should have kept it at our stadiums because it was going fine with the exception of a couple teams. But then, if you keep it at your stadiums and you don't do the bubbles and then more teams get exposed and the whole season gets shut down or the playoffs are canceled, then people will say, well, you guys should have done a bubble. Why didn't you do the bubble thing? It's like, so it's kind of a tricky situation there. But I'll say as of now, if you asked me, if I had to make the sole decision, I'm going to say go the bubble route. I'd say go the bubble route because really, what do you have to lose? It's been proven to have worked for other sports, and those players that will be in the bubble will have to be in the bubble for a far less amount of time than players in the NBA or the NHL or whatever sport. So, they don't, maybe 2 or 3 weeks as opposed to, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it might be. So yeah, maybe I'd say maybe go the bubble route starting in October. We'll have to see, but
Yeah, and I mean, to your point that maybe these two incidents with the Cardinals and Pirates have put the fear of God into some of these players, and I think that I definitely felt like I saw a lot, not perfect mask usage this weekend, certainly not, but definitely a better eye towards good mask usage.
Yeah,
of guys when they came out to the mound, it wasn't necessarily, it was like not. It was actually covering their nose, where
not just under.
The first week and a half, it was definitely not. Or like Miggy was using a mask when he was running the bases this weekend.
Josh Bell at first had one on.
Yeah, and just so like seeing that kind of is starting to expand a little bit. I feel like they're starting to kind of like get it a little bit. And
also, if you're a team like the Tigers, sorry to cut you off there, but if you're a team like the Tigers, hey, if I got to we're playing good baseball right now. I don't want people not wearing masks to be the reason why we can't contend, or because you have to imagine. One thing I've been thinking about too a little bit. God forbid the season gets canceled. What happens to everybody's stats up to this point? Is it just a wash? Because Miggy, for example, has 4 home runs this season. He's getting dangerously close. Not this season, unless he goes on an absolute tear these next 5 weeks. But if he can keep, if he can end this season in that 10, 15 home run camp, who knows? He's looking at a very short number to get to next season to get to 500 home runs. So I think of guys that are in his shoes that are kind of close to those, career accolades. And granted, that's definitely a smaller, majority of people than, just the overall league. But interesting to kind of think. Yeah, if you're a team right now like the Tigers, who probably wasn't getting a lot of love coming into the season, you're playing good baseball right now. I imagine Ron Gardenhire's in that dugout in the clubhouse being like, everybody, if you can, wear the damn mask. We are winning baseball games. This is a feeling we've hardly felt at all in 2019. Let's keep it going.
Gardy, too, is wearing the mask better than he was previously. He was often frequently pulling it down, and it is now. And
I'm not knocking any of those guys too, because it is an inconvenience. It's not fun to wear, and they're out in the hot sun all day. It's not great, but also we're all still getting I don't want to say we're getting used to this, because now we've kind of been in this mask, social distancing world for 5-6 months, whatever it's been. But, for these players on the field, it's definitely a new thing. You never in years past had to take the rosin bag off, when you're done pitching for the day, or bring in your own from the bullpen or whatever it is. So we're all learning. We've said it the whole time. We got to learn, on the fly, and it just kind of is what it is. But yeah, it's good to see that the players that at least appears to be taking steps in the right direction. And yeah, if you're a Cardinal fan, I don't know how, when, where those games are going to get made up, but you got a lot of 7-inning doubleheaders coming your way. And that's the one thing they do have going for them, I guess, is they're supposed to play the Pirates this week. They had the Cubs this past week. Our games with them are going to be made up. You would imagine they're going to see the Cubs and Pirates more down the road than they would see us.
There are better divisional opportunities for them to make up those games in doubleheaders.
They can tack on an extra game
than making up our games. Like if they happen to miss Thursday, I don't know where we get those 2 games.
And that pisses me off then, because then what happens? What happens if those games are they just washed? Then did we not get a chance? Because it's not our fault. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying it's the Cardinals players' fault that went out and got the virus. If they acted stupid, then it's their fault. But if it was just kind of is what it is thing, then that's my bad. But I mean, we need to get we have every right to have those games made up just as much as the Cardinals do. So we'll have to kind of wait and see what happens.
Yeah. But so with that, let's take a look at the week ahead that's coming up. We've got 3 against the White Sox. We've got this doubleheader against the Cardinals, and we've got 3 against the Cleveland Indians. This week's schedule, for those that may have noticed, is essentially the same as next week's schedule as well, just reversed with what stadium we're playing in. So kind of the same. So it'll be interesting to have this same conversation next week, essentially, after we've seen these two teams once through. But let's start with the White Sox. The White Sox and Indians play on Sunday night. We are recording this on Sunday afternoon, so the rubber match of their series has not concluded. But going into the Sunday night game, the White Sox are 8-7 heading into that game. It started a little bit slower than a lot of people anticipated this White Sox team to maybe started off a little bit cold, but they are 7-3 in their last 10 games. So they do seem to be kind of getting it back together, it together in the way that people were expecting them to be, looking a lot with that young talent in that way. Luke, what are you kind of most concerned about looking for in this 3-game set with the White Sox?
This White Sox team can hit. They can hit the baseball from Luis Robert to Eloy Jimenez, Jose Abreu, Yohan Moncada, Edwin Encarnacion. The list goes on and on and on.
I should say, on that note, it does go, the planned rotation for these 3 games is Fulmer, Alexander, Boyd.
Okay. And I believe the Fulmer start today, Monday, is going to be, they're going to go Fulmer and Norris. They're going to kind of split duties for that game.
That does seem to be the plan.
And then, I'm glad Tyler Alexander's getting a start after his, big weekend last week. That was, I think, a good. And Boyd, we didn't really even touch on that, but we can later, I guess, if we want to. But for the sake of this conversation, this White Sox can hit flat out. This team can hit. So we're going to really need pitching to be on this week, because they'll make you pay for it. And in particular, again, I don't want to say our wins up to this point have been easier, but we played the Royals, we've played the Pirates, we kind of played the Reds when they were figuring out their identity, what was going on first, couple series of the season. White Sox are still kind of in that camp, figuring out what's going on, as are we. But if it gets into some late inning games and we have a lead, these are going to be I think, thus far, biggest tests we have seen for guys like Soto, Farmer, Jimenez, kind of coming in the 7, 8, 9 spot, because this White Sox team can beat you 1-9. They got a real good lineup. But on the other opposite side, for the White Sox, I don't know how I feel about their bullpen. I've watched a few games. I haven't been super impressed. I think in general, pitching has kind of been their biggest question mark. So hopefully we can capitalize on that. But yeah, just be aware. This White Sox team can hit. We knew they were going to be able to. They're kind of getting hot. I know they started out the gate slow, but they're starting to kind of find their rhythm, and they'll make you pay for it with the long ball, because this team can definitely rake.
Yeah, I think that that's all exactly kind of what we're looking at. I want to see these. The question, the only starter in the 3-game set that we're expecting that has a decent and good ERA is Tyler Alexander, and some of that coming from his record-setting strikeout session. So that is looking at that number, you want to see the Fulmer Norris start, the Fulmer Norris Open continue, be stronger than it was the last time we tried to bring Fulmer out. Man, Matt Boyd's got to be on a short string.
Do we want to talk about that real quick, Matt Boyd, or do we want to save it?
Yeah, I mean, let's touch on it. Let's not beat this. Yeah, beat the conversation too much. But yeah, we're at that. I feel like we're at that point in the season, especially in these next 2 weeks, that are very, very critical, that we can't let these games with the White Sox and the Indians, these 2 teams that we are definitely fighting for playoff spots with, that either to get into that second spot in the AL Central, to get into the wild card spot. It is, like right now, we're the second team in the AL Central by win percentage. Cleveland and the White Sox would be the wild card teams. So it is, coming out of that, we have to, find something to do here, and we can't let Matt Boyd let a game get out of hand.
Like Friday, yes. It's just been tough. It's been really tough, and I tweeted it, and I'm going to stand by it on Friday. We got a problem. It's a problem. I think it's officially a problem, because it's not the fact that had he gone out, maybe had one bad inning throughout any of these starts. He goes out, pitches 4 or 5, but he stays out maybe an inning too long, gets a late home run off him, takes the loss, whatever it might be. Had it was a scenario like that, I don't think I'd be as worried or as critical right now. But I just have to say it. Through 3 starts, Matt Boyd has looked really bad. All 3 starts he's been in, he has looked very bad. Love the guy. We have talked on end about how awesome of a human being he is. We know he has the capability to be a great pitcher. I still think he can be a great pitcher. I still want to see Matt Boyd extended, but what we're seeing right now is not good. He knows it. We know it. And he's just going to kind of, how I said, we got to, when it comes to strikeouts, it's just got to figure it out kind of on the go. That's where he's at right now. He's got to figure it out on the go. There is not any time to sit around and think and stew. You've just got to figure some stuff out on the fly, and just hope for the best. But it's been rough. It's been really, really rough. And unfortunately, I don't, if it was 162 games, I'd say, okay, you know what? He's just off to a real bad start. But he's realistically got, 6 or 7 starts left this season?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the leash, I don't know at what point in time they have to start reevaluating things. I did see I thought I saw a quote, was it from Gardy maybe, or from someone? I thought I saw it on the Tigers headline that he's still our number one. He's our ace, which, hey, they're putting a lot of faith in him, which is good. You want to give your teammate your support, but it's been real rough. But hopefully this week he turns it around. And like you said, these next 2 weeks are going to get crucial. It's a long stretch here. We're starting to see a lot more familiar faces, the White Sox, the Indians. It's gonna get interesting, and I hope he's ready for the challenge. I have no doubt that mentally and capability wise, he can do it. No doubt about it in my mind. He has the potential to go on the mound, kick some ass, and be the Matt Boyd we all know him to be. Up to this point, though, it has been a struggle. Would be an understatement. So. Let's see him. Yeah, this is the part of being a major league professional that sucks. You are under the magnify glass, to the upteenth degree or whatever it is, and he's definitely under the spotlight right now, and he's got to figure it out. And I think he can do it. I hope he can do it, and only he can kind of make his own future at this point. It's all on him. So let's see how he does.
Yeah, because right now, you think about if the playoffs started today, the Tigers would be the 4th seed in the AL. We would host a 3-game series to start the playoffs. And the way Matt Boyd has pitched up to this point, I don't want Matt Boyd getting the ball in that 3-game series. I want Turnbull and I want Ivan Nova, and I
someone else. We'll find someone
Tyler
else.
Alexander. We'll see how Tyler Alexander does in his start. Even Ronnie Garcia. I would not be upset about. I would kind of rather have the ball in that second game spot where.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Other than Spencer Turnbull, the starting rotation in general is not only banged up, and it kind of got banged up with Norris being on the COVID list, Zimmerman's out. Michael Fulmer's coming back from injury. So right out the gate, we were kind of banged up. But even beyond that, Matt Boyd has struggled. Nova's been an innings eater. He's been okay, and that's what we've needed him to be. We've said it the whole time.
Nova has been exactly the pitcher we knew him to be.
100% agree.
Not throwing strikeouts, but he's also not giving up a ton of runs.
Yeah,
he's
giving up
there
anywhere from 3 to 5 runs a game. The bats back him up. He's doing his job, and for that, all we can say is thank you. But we're gonna see what's going on. Tyler Alexander, he's gonna get that start. Ronnie Garcia, he's had a few opportunities. Norris and Fulmer, those guys, we need those guys in some capacity. It's gonna be nice to kind of have them, tag teaming tomorrow. But eventually, we need those guys to just go out there and be starters that can go 5-6 innings. And then, are we finally gonna see it this week? If we get this Thursday doubleheader in, is Casey Mize coming to the majors?
Yeah, that's a great transition into that doubleheader, this potential doubleheader with the Cards, which is also kind of why I'm so frustrated with the Cardinals COVID situation, is because it keeps putting off Casey Mize coming to the majors. And I do think if the doubleheader is on Thursday, we get Casey Mize starting one of those games. I would be absolutely floored if that doesn't happen. And if Casey Mize comes out against the Cardinals on Thursday and has a really great outing after Matt Boyd has had a bad showing potentially against the White Sox, now we got to start asking some questions about what we're doing with that rotation.
Yeah, and it's hard too because in a normal 162 game season, I'd say, Alex, you're crazy, but it's not. I mean, and we've said, you have to sometimes just play the hot hand and keep going. So who knows if that really situation? I mean, that'd be insane. Could you imagine Matt Boyd struggles Wednesday, Casey Mize kills it Thursday, and they somehow do it.
A 7-inning complete game with 77 pitches.
Yeah, it'd be pretty gnarly to see all that. But we'll wait and see. I agree with you. If we are able to get the Thursday doubleheader in, I would be stunned if Casey Mize is not pitching in one of those games. I mean, what else do we need to wait for at this point? The team's got some good momentum right now. The fans want to see it. And not only that, the Tigers just need someone to go out there and pitch. So why not bring up the guy who's been just stewing away in the minors the past couple of seasons? He's ready to go out there and rock and roll. We're ready to see it. Give the fans what they want. If we're able to play Thursday, give us Casey Mize.
Yeah. I think that's really the only thing to talk about with the Cardinals doubleheader, because, it's going to be a 7-game doubleheader. And
I'll tell you this, though. If Casey Mize goes out one of those doubleheader games and he pitches a great game, well, then I'm going to change my tune completely on the doubleheaders, and I think they're the best thing in the world. See how easy I flip-flop? No, I'll still hate the 7-inning doubleheaders. They're not real games, in my opinion. Go 9 innings. What's the big deal? But I ranted about that last week. But, Casey Mize, let's see him this Thursday. If we play the games, I hope we see Casey Mize on the mound.
We didn't talk about this in the Pittsburgh wrap up, but Spencer Turnbull went 7 today, which is the first Tigers pitcher starter to go 7, and it
was a gutsy performance.
Put him potentially up to do one of those 7-game doubleheaders, 7-inning doubleheaders, and he could potentially throw a complete game in that scenario.
Well, we saw with Bauer last weekend, so why not? Yeah, and honestly, Spencer Turnbull was in a better position going into the 7th inning of this game than Bauer was when he faced us last weekend. So, absolutely, Spencer Turnbull he's been the guy right now. Obviously, he's 2-0. He's by far the best starting pitcher we've got right now on the staff. But he's just kind of got a swagger this year that we didn't really see last year. And maybe it's because he's got something to prove. I think he was 3-17 last year. So he probably was a little bit pissed off and was like, I'm a much better pitcher than I showed. I'm going to bring it this year and prove it to everybody. And thus far, he has done exactly that. So he's gone out there and done 3 quality starts in my book and 2-0 to show for it. By far the best pitcher we've got on the rotation right now. And it'd be great to see that success continue for him, because it's been a pleasant surprise, to say the least, and it's been awesome.
Here's my bold prediction for the week.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
We get the Thursday doubleheader. Spencer Turnbull takes the mound, throws a 7-inning no-hitter.
I like that. That is bold. What do you think has a more better chance of happening, that or Casey Mize pitching on Thursday?
Oh man, Casey Mize pitching on Thursday, but I think they could both happen.
That would be
Casey Mize goes 6, gives up 1 run,
and like the Royal Rumble,
that guy we have to use is Joe to get the close.
Yeah. And like the Royal Rumble for the WWE, like when the last guy comes out and it's always some big wrestler and he wins the Royal Rumble and he goes to WrestleMania, yada yada yada. In the bottom of the 9th inning, Casey Mize just gets done. He throws a 7-inning complete game, gives up only 1 hit, strikes out a bunch. They call up Spencer Torkelson, and he hits a walk-off homer.
That's bold.
Boom.
That's almost as bold as Gardy hitting a home run, which almost happened on Saturday. So,
hey, who knows? We'll have to see. No, but I think I'd love to see that. I like that Spencer Turnbull prediction. I don't think we're seeing Torque anytime soon. But Casey Mize, I feel like it's inevitable at this point. It's got to happen.
Yeah, I think that the time is now, and let's see it. And so then to wrap out the week, we will likely do a live show ahead of either this series or maybe on that Cardinals doubleheader day, but probably ahead of the Cleveland series. So 3 games against Cleveland. As I said earlier when we talked about the White Sox, the White Sox and Indians play tonight. And so we don't have that recorded for you as we don't know the result. We are not clairvoyant on Sunday afternoon as we get the episode to you on Monday. But they've got 2 games against the Cubs on Tuesday and Wednesday. So they've got a little bit of rest in their schedule this week. So they have Monday off and Thursday off before they come to Detroit. For me, looking at both these Cleveland and White Sox series this week and next week, this is obviously the vitally important 2 weeks of the season that will kind of tell us what the second half of the season is going to mean for us. And so, midday on Sunday, we had 7 American League teams above 500 at 500 or above, 4 of them in the American League Central, 1 of them being the Detroit Tigers, 2 of them being the White Sox and the Indians. So this is the first I would call this the first true test week of this season to really see what these Tigers are, and if they are who we continue to think they are. They keep proving it. They keep going out and doing the things that we think that they can do, and proving themselves to be a scrappy, fighting team. And now let's see if they can do that against teams that are very, very capable of punching them in the mouth.
Yeah. I mean, in particular, I know we kind of already previewed the Sox series, so I'll go more towards the Cleveland series. I've said it in the past. I'm going to keep saying it. For whatever reason, these past few seasons, the Cleveland Indians have been our kryptonite. We just cannot beat Cleveland, and that is a huge problem because they are in our division. So, got to give props to Cleveland. I always feel like every season going into a new year, it's always like, are the Indians this is gonna be the year they kind of start to tank and the ship sinks, so to speak? But they have that pitching. The offense still finds ways to get it done, and that pitching keeps them in ball games. So we're gonna have to bring it. We could have some interesting games here next week. Good to great Cleveland pitching versus some big bats from the Detroit Tigers. It could make for an interesting weekend at the ballpark. But it'll be. I agree with you. This is the first. I feel like first true test, and these next 2 weeks are going to be vital. I would love to see the Tigers go out there even more. I mean, I know I've seen the Sox. I've seen the Tigers beat the Sox, but I think it would be a huge morale if we could do some damage to Cleveland. I think because I think the players know these past couple seasons Cleveland has kicked our teeth in. So it'd be a huge for morale. Not only to go out there and do business against the Sox, but maybe in that Cardinal doubleheader, and then take it to Cleveland. And, just got to go out there and keep winning and doing what we're doing right now. Try to minimize those strikeouts, but this team's scrappy. Pitching has been pretty solid for the most part, and let's just keep the train moving, I say.
Absolutely. And we will be here to chat about it all week as we go away real quick here, Luke. So 8 games scheduled in the next 7 days. What is your worst case scenario record for the Tigers, and what is your best case scenario, and what are you kind of expecting? Obviously, I'm just going to go ahead and say for both of us, the best case scenario is we go 8-0 this week.
Yeah, worst case is 0-8.
Yeah, but I would say that for me, I feel bad at 3-5, and feel real good at 5-3.
Yep, bingo. That's exactly what I was going to say. Took the words right out of my mouth.
And so that'll be that. And we will be on Twitter. We're frequently on Twitter during the games. Check out our Twitter feed as well, and our Facebook page for notifications about live shows as we go live during the week to preview series and games as they begin. But otherwise, we will be here. See you on every Monday on our audio feed, whether you're the audio feed or whether you are a video watcher. We are in both formats, and we look forward to continuing to see you here throughout the rest of this weird COVID-shortened season as the Tigers make a run for the playoffs. That was, even 3 months ago, I probably wasn't anticipating that I'd be saying that. I was hopeful that I would be saying that, but as we make this run for the playoffs, we will be here.
Yes, we will. Go Tigers. Go Tigers. Go Tigers.
Man, just the level of enthusiasm. I thought Matt Shepard was on the broadcast there.
That was me. Matt Shepard's good. Go easy on him, people. He's good. They're all good. Everyone be nice.